What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Daniel from Button English, and I am here to record today's PodClass on my own. Why is that? Well, that is for the best of reasons. Raquel is actually not far from here. She's in the other room, but she is very uncomfortable with her very big pregnant belly. Our little boy Fernando is about to arrive. He has a few more days to go. And she's very uncomfortable, so I convinced her to go wait in the couch, to go rest on the couch and do something else instead of, sitting on a chair and being all out of sorts here. So this is why Daniel is here with you alone today. And I want to talk to you. Well, you already know because it's on the title, right? I want to talk to you about situations where English makes a difference. And I want to start by telling a story that is not related to English at all. This is a few years back. Raquel and I were traveling in Europe. I was there for the first time to visit her family, her extended family, right, in Portugal, and we also visited Spain. And on one of the trips, I believe we were flying from Madrid over to Lisbon. It was towards the end of the trip. And something that we developed as a habit, which is also a travel hack, if you like traveling, this is a very good suggestion for you if you go to Europe at all, is because we didn't want to spend so much money on food, I quickly discovered that Europe has very decent bread and excellent butter. So what we did was we started carrying around a butter knife and a container with butter because it was winter. So, the butter would hold up for 4 or 5 days. We would eat the butter in that time. And we would buy fresh bread wherever we went and eat bread and butter whenever we felt hungry. So that was pretty fun. Anyway, this is the introduction to the story. My God, I'm taking too long. So I would like to, before moving on, I would like to talk to you about the expression that came to my mind as I was telling you all about this, which is the bread and butter. Like when somebody says that, that's the bread and butter of math. It's the most basic thing. It's the most fundamental thing that every mathematician knows and has, right? So, for example, the bread and butter of all musicians is the stage, right? It's the most basic thing, most fundamental thing, that without which the profession doesn't exist. The bread and butter. Anyway, so here we are, 5 o'clock in the morning. I was half asleep, and I was showing off my then Spanish skills in the cab, right? The taxi driver, I believe he was either Peruvian or Bolivian. I don't recall. And I was having a chat with the guy and having a blast. And Raquel was sleepy because it's 4:30 in the morning. We're about to catch a flight. But I am me. I'm an early bird and a night owl at the same time. I don't know how that works. Okay, so I say goodbye. We grab our stuff. We go to the airport. And we start going through security. And this guy starts screaming at me. And I have no idea what he's saying. And I get scared. And I see that other people are watching us, and I'm beginning to believe it's a serious situation. Something happened. I did something wrong, something I shouldn't have done. And then Raquel, who speaks a lot less Spanish than I do, taps me on the shoulder and says, "Dude, did you pack the butter knife?" And I'm like, at that moment, my legs went numb. I'm like, yes, I did. I forgot to throw it away or give it to somebody. So I had a small knife in my backpack. And the guy was screaming, "Cuchillo, cuchillo," which is knife in Spanish. If I really knew Spanish at that moment, it would have helped me a lot. Or if anybody knew Portuguese or English near me and had approached me to talk to me about the mistake I was making, it would have been easier, right? So I want to tell you that knowing English or knowing other languages can open doors and can solve tricky situations, help people. It can help you when you are in a tough spot, right? Another good expression. Tough spot. A tough spot is a situation that is tricky, that is hard to solve. So yeah, let's say he's in love with B, but he and A have not broken up yet. That's a tough spot. It's a difficult, hard to get out of kind of situation, right? Another one that comes to my mind that concerns English was a lot more dramatic than my airport experience, because that one I wasn't really at risk and it wasn't a serious, dangerous knife, right? It was just a butter knife. But a few years back, Raquel and I were visiting my mom at Ilha Grande, and there it's a very famous place in Brazil, and it's very popular for international tourists. Like you see a lot of French people, a lot of British people, Europeans in general. And at that particular day, or on that particular day, we went on a hike, and it's a pretty long hike. It's a 3.5 hour to go, another 3.5 hours to come back, and the crazy thing is, once we got there, it was I want to say it was late morning, and there was a couple of foreigners. I mean, you could tell by the look, right, by how they were dressed and stuff. And you could also tell that the woman was very sick. She was not feeling good at all. And the husband was very worried. But the thing was, they were trying to communicate, and it was clearly not working. They were at this very little grocery store bar kind of thing, and no one was able to figure out what they were trying to say. And they were freaking out because they needed help. They needed to get a bus or something. And then I saw that, I like in a fraction of a second, I saw what was going on. I saw that they could not communicate. And I stepped in. And then I started talking to them in English. And they were like, oh, thank God somebody speaks English here. And then the husband started explaining to me that the wife started feeling ill. And he believed she was dehydrated. And she might have been poisoned, like gotten food poisoning. And then I was able to help them to the best of my ability at that point, right? Because I'm not a doctor and I didn't have a whole lot of stuff on me. But I did have a bottle of cold water and a cloth. So I told them to start, cooling her face off and putting the cloth on her neck and wetting it with cold water, so the blood would cool off a little bit and she would feel better gradually. And I asked the bar people to make some I have no clue how to say that in English, to mix some water and salt and sugar in order to hydrate or rehydrate the woman a little bit faster and get her blood pressure a little bit higher, right? And it was crazy, because how often do you have people that speak good English at the end of a trail in the middle of the woods, right? So lucky for them, I did, and that made a huge difference for them. And this is often this often makes the difference to you or to other people if you speak a foreign language, if you speak English, right? I also recall another situation where I was horrified because I did not speak English. I was immigrating to Australia, not immigrating, but I was going to spend a year in Australia, and I did not speak English, like almost zero. And when I got to the airport in Sydney, and the woman was trying to talk to me about what was inside my luggage, and she was asking me questions, and I couldn't answer because first I did not understand a single word of what she said, and also I could not say anything back. No, I couldn't even say I am sorry, I don't understand. That's how poor my skills were. And I don't remember anything about the situation in itself except for that, but I do remember how I felt. And I felt desperate. Desperate meaning, okay, if anything goes wrong, if this woman calls the police on me, there's nothing I can do. There's no one I can talk to. Nobody I can explain myself to, because they won't get me and I won't get them. So I'll probably be deported back to Brazil without even setting foot in Australia. It was awful. And then, thank God, a few minutes later, she just gave up. She just smiled. Come on, welcome, welcome. That word I understood. So, all of this to say, guys, that yes, English is a great skill to have if you're trying to apply for a job, if you're going to study overseas, and all of those things, or if you want to take a course online, if you want to read, if you want to communicate. But I just want to remind everyone out there of this thing that English can sometimes be the difference between a terrible misfortune and something like a near miracle in someone's life, right? Like it was for that British couple. And it's terrible when somebody feels lost in the language and there's nothing they can do and there's no help at hand, right? There's nothing to be done but to feel desperate. Anyway, and this is I think this is what this is probably one of the things that is at the center of my passion for teaching, which is watching somebody go from the state of desperation to the state of communication, being able to converse with another person in a new language efficiently and walking away with a new piece of information and the other person doing the same. It's fantastic. It's just a few years back when I was traveling with the school I used to work for, we used to take a bunch of teenagers to the U.S. and there was this university that hosted us, so they would stay on campus. We all of the teachers used to encourage their students to interact with the people on campus, right? The security guards and the staff and the students that were there for the summer break. And if they wanted to order pizza, well, you call the pizzeria. You go and you pay the pizza guy and give him the right tip and all of that. And the thing is, we knew a lot of those kids back in Brazil. We used to spend time with them. They used to go to our schools, right? So we knew them. We kind of watched some of them grow up. We taught them in the most basic levels. And here they were in a different country, getting along just fine with their newly acquired English skills. And it was so cool to watch them glowing with joy, just beaming around like, wow, I'm actually talking to somebody in a new language that is not mine, and they get me. They understand what I want. I understand what they want. The more bold students, I would say, had a lot more fun because then they would go into these in-depth conversations, right, about whatever topics. It was fun. This particular university used to host different camps during summer, so there were religious camps that would stay with us. There would be American football camps that would stay with us, and our kids would interact with these people and get to know a new reality. And they got to decode everything that they heard on themselves. There was no remote control with the closed caption, subtitles on. No, that was it. They had to figure it out, and it was pretty fantastic to watch. Anyway, yeah, and well, I've become known in my family as the English speaker because most of my family, uncles, aunts, cousins, even my parents, they don't really speak English. And the few times that we traveled together and English was necessary, it was actually pretty amazing to be able to be a bridge and have the two sides communicate. Have my parents on one side and a waiter on the other, or I don't know, someone who took an interest in us for whatever reason. Took an interest. That's a good one. To take an interest is to actively become interested in someone or something, right? And my parents would not have the skill to interact with them, and then I would step in at their request, and I would become this sort of this translator, and English made the difference, right? It made a difference because my parents were able to interact with this person and to take something away from this experience, and they were also proud of me, of course. But to me, being able to be that person was just fun, Back in Australia, another experience that I just remembered. I shared my apartment with two Korean guys and another dude from Japan, and it was pretty eye opening for me. It was an eye opening experience for me because I had never thought about this. We always complain about how hard it is to learn English in Brazil and how difficult it can be to memorize all those verbs. And then I started realizing when I was there that Asian cultures, most of them at least, must learn a new alphabet when they start learning English. That we don't have to struggle with, right? We share the same alphabet. So imagine the struggle that is for someone who spoke Chinese his or her entire life, to all of a sudden decide, okay, I'm going to study English. First the alphabet, then the sounds, and then the words, and then they're like, my goodness. And I remember so many times when we went out or when we took a trip, I had to get them out of sticky situations because they did not have enough English, and people would lose their patience with them and they wouldn't know what was going on. Anyway, sticky situations are situations that are complicated, delicate, sometimes embarrassing, with no obvious answer to them, right? And I remember also studying with them because they were in Australia to study English. And I remember how grateful they were for my help, the very little help that I could offer. At that point, I had been living in Sydney in Australia for 6 or 7 months. So my English was not amazing. It was okay. It was pretty good. But still, English made a difference, I was able to sort of be their, I don't want to use the word teacher because I didn't teach them, but I used to be their tutor. They would come to me with homework issues, and they would ask vocabulary words, and we would watch TV together, and they would pause a movie or a series and ask me stuff. And it was so cool to be able to be, I don't know, a sort of tool for people. So yeah, if you ever start studying English, taking it seriously, or if you do have the skill, I bet you have a few stories like that to share as well, especially if you've traveled around, right? Where people look for someone that speaks the language, and if you step up, usually you end up solving a problem, saving someone's ass at that point, right? Anywho, yeah, I just thought I should share a few stories where I think English has made the absolute difference in my story and in people's stories through me as well. Okay, so that's it, guys. If you have any stories that you can share with us about when a foreign language that you speak made a difference, especially English, please do share here in the comments or send us a message or something. Don't forget to follow us. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. Raquel sends you her best. And we're going to see you guys next week. Thank you very much for watching, and stay safe.